What's going on, everybody? Today, I am super excited to have a special guest on the YouTube channel. His name is Robin from Game Pick Podcast. He's a fantasy basketball guru and he's getting into NBA Top Shot as well. I wanted to thank him for coming on and sharing his great and inspiring story. This guy puts out some of the best fantasy basketball content that I've seen, and you can find all of his information down in the description below. I hope you enjoy it. Here it is. All right, here he is, everybody, the man, Robin from Game Pick Podcast, a buddy of mine from social media. Who would have thunk it? Him and I met on TikTok, where he is an absolute animal on the TikTok content. And if you're on TikTok, you got to check him out. He runs a podcast. We're going to hear all about it today. I'm excited to do it and get to know him a little bit more. Robin, welcome aboard, man.
Oh my goodness, my dreams have come true, Eric. I made it to the Nifty Sports Show. This is I'm so honored, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're the man. Robin's joining us from the East Coast over there, where they're required to stay up late because games are on later. I don't know how I could do it. I mean, I would, but
I've never lived on the West Coast. I visited, I've never lived, so I don't even know about that lifestyle. All I know is late night watching games till 1 a.m. West Coast, Western Conference games are going on till 1 a.m. It's not a game.
Yeah, I know. I visit family on the East Coast every once in a while, and I'm like, man, how do y'all do this? I wake up, I have to have football at 10 a.m. on Sunday.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. That sounds so weird.
Yeah. For real. So all right, let's get into it then, man. Tell us what you're doing at Game Pick. And I know it's a fantasy basketball centered podcast, and a lot of your content is centered on fantasy basketball, and you may be starting to branch out into some other things, but give me the roots of it, man. What got you started in the content creating space around the basketball stuff?
Yep. Well, it's a pretty up and down kind of a story. It's really exciting, but also really sad. And it's just kind of a mix of emotions. So I'll give you the condensed version. So, I come from a music background. I'm one of the founders of a company called End of the Week, and we do a hip hop international competition. We have 15 chapters all over the world. People compete in multilingual rap competitions. It's crazy, right? So that's my background. So I've been doing music for all of these years. And a few years ago, I was like, man, one day I want to do a basketball podcast. I want to do that one day. So always put it on the back burner. Was never a priority for me. And then in the summer of 2021, my brother, my older brother, he fell sick with a heart condition. So he was in the hospital for a number of weeks over the summer. We were talking more than we had for years. You know what I mean? We were deeply connected, and he was telling me about this gaming channel he wanted to create for video games. So I was helping him conceptualize it, come up with a niche and how are we going to approach it, making artwork for him. It was just a whole process. With that, I was like, man, if he could do it, I could do my gaming thing too. My gaming thing is a little different. It's fantasy sports, but I'm going to do my channel while I'm helping my brother. So I'm planning my stuff secretly behind the scenes. He doesn't know. And then November 7th, 2021, my brother passed away. And when he passed away, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I had never felt pain like that, Eric. I was literally hollow, walking through the hallways of my job, just what is happening? You know what I mean? So fast forward his, going through the trials and tribulations of having to make sure he was sent off the right way, dealing with all of that, and then getting an opportunity to mourn. The thing that kept me going was the TikTok channel. And I didn't do the TikTok channel I'm really going to lock in and do this podcast. I just named it after the podcast because that's the buzzword. You call it a podcast and they'll come, right? So once I started doing it, it gave me the relief. It helped me to mourn. It got me through one of the toughest periods of my life. And amazingly enough, as I did more content, my phone started ringing more about the sports stuff. Some people were asking me to do ads and just different opportunities. And I just said, you know what? I'm going to go crazy here on a limb. I'm going to focus in on this. I'm going to water this plant and see how much it will grow, because most importantly, it was bringing me joy. And that kind of was, the story of the start of Game Pick.
That's inspiring, man. Like, I'm sorry that you had to go through that, man. Thoughts and prayers with you and your entire family. As somebody who's also very close to his brother, like, I can't even imagine having to go through something like that. But I will say that, man, just seeing what you've been doing over the past couple of months and the TikTok channel that you've been doing and the joy that it's been bringing you, man, I'm sure you're making him proud,
Yeah, man. And
Like,
that's what it's all about.
It's all about. Yeah.
Yep.
Like, you want to live this life and be happy and do what makes you happy. And this content's really been making me happy too, man. But I know your brother's got to be looking down on you proud right now, man. So keep it up. Like, this guy, I'm telling you, you hear that story, it gives you the chills. Like,
it gives me the chills telling it, man.
Check out the content. I mean, like, this guy is the potential, man. That I saw your TikTok page one time and I was like, damn, this guy is doing it, man. Like, he's motivating me. Like, every single time I was like, this guy paying for ads or like paying my page or something like that? Because I'm seeing him every single time. I must be liking his stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, you're entertaining, you bring the hooks, like, you're building a community, right? Like,
yeah, I was gonna say, Eric, really quick, just on that point before we leave it, that you show up on my feed quite often too. And that's one beautiful thing about TikTok, that it's an interest-based, discovery-based app, unlike the Instagrams where, you get shown your friends unless you're scrolling the Reels feed. So for me, I get fed your content the same way, bro. Like, when you got the tickets to the game, I was with you at the game. I was like, we're gonna go through. And then, because once you build some kind of like digital rapport with another creator on the platform, then it's like, not only will I catch you when you pop up on my feed, but I'm also gonna go to your home base and go see what's been up. And I usually catch up, find out about drops. So you've been giving me the same kind of energy, brother.
Word, man. I appreciate that. And yeah, I'm trying to get on your level, man. One of these days we're going to be going live on TikTok together. Follow me on TikTok, everybody, so I can get to 1,000 so I can go live all the time. I'm trying to do some cool stuff. You know what I mean? Have you been taking advantage of that?
Follow my man, Eric, you freaking NFT nerds.
Yeah, nerds. The tagline comes out early. We bring it early. I hear this guy. I hear Robin telling people on TikTok, follow me, you fantasy nerds. And the tagline came out early. I was going to bring it up, but I love it, man. I love it. That's good stuff. Yeah. Have you been taking advantage of doing like lives or anything like that? Or are you mostly just posting out content in batches? I mean, like, dude, you crank that stuff out. I don't know how you do it. It's inspiring.
Yeah. You know what? It's to answer your question. Yes. I was doing lives quite frequently leading up to the playoffs. So leading up to the playoffs, the thing about the fantasy basketball community is, and I've been a part of it on the other side of the screen, so I know what it's like. As soon as the fantasy championships are over, fantasy basketball fans kind of disappear and they go into, they go into hiding for a couple of months. What I'm trying to do is kind of merge some different content types to keep the conversation going, specifically around dynasty format. So for dynasty, for all of my folks who don't know, dynasty fantasy basketball is like, you pick that team and you have that team forever. So you could trade players. It's like being a real GM. So leaning into that content more has kind of kept some of my community, awake during this time. But for me, for much of the beginning of Game Pick, I would get in my car right before work and I would just block out, 60 minutes. And I would say, okay, in this 60-minute time period, I know I want to do, 10 video replies. And then I want to do, 10 Twitter green screen videos, for example. And, I would just bang them out. And that's how I would kind of build up that batch of content that to have, in the stash to just drop whenever.
Well, it's killer, man. Good stuff. Yeah, man. Well, let's talk about fantasy basketball a little bit more, because I admitted to you off screen that I never played fantasy basketball before. And, you had mentioned one time on TikTok that, you had heard of kind of Top Shot and got motivated to get in. And I was a little bit of a part of that, maybe. So
no, you were a lot of a part of that.
Cool.
You were I had heard about Top Shot. I'd seen stuff about Top Shot online, but again, until you can kind of connect with a person or an entity that you trust, and you had built that trust with me as a fan of your content. I'm like, oh, this guy seems honest. He seems trustworthy. Let me see what he's talking about. And then I was like, screw it. I'm just gonna buy the KD pack, and that was my first pack. And after that, I was like, you know how it is. I went into I was in the rabbit hole for a number of months.
Yep.
On live token, like
Yep.
sniping, so I had a moment where I had to say, like, okay, let me take a step back. But no, I would give you 100% credit for getting me in the Top Shot.
It's been an honor, man. We're gonna keep you involved too, man. And again, the whole point of this is I'm playing fantasy basketball next year. Nobody's gonna be able to stop me.
Hey.
I put together. I'm a big baseball fan, if you didn't know, but I haven't played fantasy baseball since high school. And I'm not gonna say when I graduated high school, but it's been a while. Like I'm getting 15 years or so. And man, I'm having a blast with it, man. I had to reach out to the ends of the earth to find people to play, right? It's not an easy sell. Baseball.
Eric, is that you, Eric?
You want to play fantasy baseball? But I cannot wait to play fantasy basketball next year so look at this. I mean, I always say that being a NBA fan is so much better when you're a Top Shot collector, right? Agreed. I think adding fantasy basketball to it is just going to be a whole nother level too. I mean, like when you got to track all the stats, the daily game, like when you're a collector to a certain extent, right? You have it a little bit easier where it's like you can ride somebody's aura, basically. Like if they're going to be a famous legend, iconic player, like it's looking that it's going to shape out that way. It doesn't really matter how they play on a night-to-night basis. Like, yeah, it does. It all adds up. Don't get me wrong. But, it's how they show up in the big moments, right? More so than, whether or not they're suiting up, a random game in February. Yeah. So, but I can't wait, man. I'm sure there's a lot of people who play fantasy basketball that are part of Nifty Sports and the community here. But
I'm confident.
break down the dynasty. Like what in general, help me, a beginner, a noob out. Like who's the number one overall pick? Is there a unanimous one? Who's the MVP of fantasy basketball? What's the scoring like? Because I'm familiar. I mean, I play multiple fantasy football leagues, right? Different scoring types. I play fantasy baseball now. But what's it like? Break it down.
It's quite complicated. I would compare it. It's right up, like fantasy baseball is a little complicated too. I feel like I got introduced to fantasy basketball through being a part of a fantasy football league. So I was a fantasy football player first. In my second season of fantasy football is when I fell in love with basketball and realized I like basketball better in real life. So I like fantasy basketball better. But I still play fantasy football. With that said, there are many different formats. For someone who is starting fantasy basketball today and has very low bandwidth in terms of commitment and availability, I would recommend using the Sleeper app. And they have a very simple format. It's a new format. It's relatively new. I think it's been around for about 2 years. It's new to the space, and it's called Game Pick. And it's one of the reasons that I named my podcast Game Pick is because unlike the other formats in fantasy, it's very similar to fantasy football where you only have to pick once.
Okay.
So you wake up on Monday morning, on Sunday night, and you set your lineups by picking what day you want James Harden to play. His projected point totals are highest on Wednesday. They're playing against the Cavs. I'm going to play James Harden on Wednesday. And then you go down your roster, you set it, forget it. You still want to pay attention to injuries and things of that nature. However, in terms of the bandwidth that you have to commit, it's very, very low. The second level would be a points league. And in a points league, it's like fantasy football, except you have the layer of having to set your lineups daily in most cases. There are weekly changes leagues where you could set your full lineup for the week at the top of the week and everyone locks in. That doesn't give you as much flexibility. You can't be nimble if someone gets injured and things of that nature. So I try to stay away from those, but that is an option. And then as you get more complicated, you have category leagues. Category leagues are really like you going up against another player. And if you have a player that does well in the rebounding category, or if your team does well in the rebounding category, and you win that category, and then he wins points, you add up how many categories the people win for that week, and then that's how you determine the winner.
Got it.
And then they have
Let me stop you real quick. Is it so in the one league that you talked about, whether it's game pick, whether it's one game, or you can swap players in and out, right? They associate an amount of, like points with points in fantasy basketball, rebounds is this amount of points. Maybe you get a little bit of a boost for a 3-pointer or something like that, or steals and assists also having a point associated with it, and it's just a total aggregate of whoever is racking up the most combined, right? So total points.
Yep. And especially for my people who play fantasy football, I would recommend starting with some form of a points league, whether it's in game pick format or if it's in like an ESPN standard league or a Yahoo standard league, because it feels more like fantasy football. Like I jumped into fantasy basketball and tried out category leagues my first year, and I was lost. I was like, it didn't feel like fantasy sports to me. As I got more experience, I understand it now. However, just like with fantasy football, the commissioner can set the different point totals. So a point might be 2 points in one league, in another league it might be 5 points. So you really want to pay attention to what your league settings are, just like fantasy football. But if you're just starting out, I would recommend going with the standard league settings for whatever platform you choose.
Sure. Nice. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I got you there. Yeah, baseball that I'm doing right now, that's actually category league, and I actually love it. There's 5 hitting categories, 5 pitching categories. So you really got to kind of strategize and get your right guys in there. Like if you need somebody to steal some bases for you, you got to swap them in at the right minute or whatever it may be. So back to the basketball. Anyways, how have you, as a Top Shot collector, right? You started a few months ago. KD pack was your first pack. Have you gotten into any of the fantasy style aspect or the DFS aspect of like the flash challenges, or even like a moment ranks play where you can rank your players and predict basically just like a DFS style per night? And earn prizes that way? Did you know about that? Or
I'm familiar with it from watching you. I've learned a bit about it. I haven't had the time to fully dive into it. I did do one challenge. It was one of the earlier KD challenges, and I got a pack from that. But I think it's amazing to have the utility with the moments and being able to gamify the platform. I think that's what separates Top Shot from other sports NFTs like the Paninis of the world, et cetera, et cetera. But I personally haven't dived in, but I have played a game or two.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. It's it kind of goes on the speculative aspect of things sometimes too, because certain moments increase in value if somebody has a good night and it's needed for a challenge. But I hope that my hope for Top Shot is that in the future it can be both that gamified way of everybody having fun, and then also like a certified collectible too. Like I want to see that in the future. That would be amazing. But yeah, there's a couple things out there like moment ranks, and now there's even one called In the Game that I am associated with. It's like an Ethereum NFT project, but what they do is they have 3 games a night, and you buy a membership for the season, right? So the playoffs are going on right now. If you buy the membership, I think it's $220 or something like that. Then you also get the membership for next season. So they have 3 games a night. Only one of them is with NBA Top Shot moments. Another one's like handicapping, like you pick all the games. And then the other one is like total points. So they can make the rules however they want. But one of them is with your Top Shot moments, and the rest of them is basically sports betting. And the entry money is shared as like a prize pool. So it gets distributed back to your entry fee, gets distributed back to the winners of the nightly games, which is more utility for Top Shot. And it's pretty cool.
No, that sounds fun. I'm going to definitely look into that one.
Yeah, for sure. So back at it, who's like the number one guy, man? Who are your favorite basketball players, your favorite teams? Throw it at me, man. Who do you like out there?
Like I honestly, as a basketball fan, I'm from New York. So for many years, I've had a miserable existence in terms of being a fan, right? Like
Yeah.
rooting for the Knicks is no fun. Going to the Garden is fun. Watching other players come is fun.
Yeah.
Being a Knicks fan is no fun. I'm born in Brooklyn. When the Nets came to Brooklyn, I was like, okay, so I can like give this a break. I can like give this a break. Let me dig in this beautiful building. Barclays is like, I was there when they built it, the Paul Pierce, Garnett crap, and right on down the years to where we are today, which is actually despicable. And I have no problem with Ben Simmons. I think like if a person says that they have whatever issue, then I'll respect that. I don't even have a problem with that. I just have a problem with the way they went out. It doesn't happen, not with those players. So as far as being a fan, I just want to make a quick announcement. I'm officially taking my talents to Memphis.
Let's go.
And just wanted to publicly make that clear.
Jump on.
I'm tired of being shackled and imprisoned and held captive by my hometown to be a part of an organization that has done nothing for me.
There we go.
It's done nothing for me but complicate my mental health and even my physical body. Like I've gained weight because of this. I'm like eating cake at 2 a.m. because of Kevin Durant. With that said, I'm officially making it clear, public statement. Robin Marks from Game Pick Podcast is officially rolling with Memphis as long as John Morant is there. If he gets traded, I go. I leave anyway. With that said, the number one player in fantasy basketball is the Joker.
Oh,
it's like general consensus. For dynasty formats, if you go to a website called #basketball, they do really good rankings. Specifically, they're one of the few sites that do dynasty rankings. So like tons of fantasy platforms like Fantasy Pros, Basketball Monster, they have fantasy rankings, but very few platforms have dynasty rankings. And they have, for their points leagues, I believe, Luka Doncic is number one. Yeah. And again, when you're thinking dynasty, you're not just thinking about this year's production, right, but you're thinking about the next few years of production, and a player's age comes into play, and also their general potential. So for me personally, if I had a number one pick in a dynasty draft this year, I would pick Jokic. If I had a second pick, I would likely take Doncic. Third pick, I would take Giannis. Fourth pick is where it gets hairy. The Lonzo Balls of the world, the Trae Youngs of the world, the Ja Morants of the world are coming around. People in dynasty drafts are not picking like Steph Curry with their fourth pick.
Sure.
But I wouldn't be against it, because what I often say is for dynasty, you want to look at it with a 3-year lens. Some people are like 10 years from now, that Ayo Dosunmu, he's going to be the one. I'm grabbing him in the second round. Like you don't want to play the game like that. You want to grab Harden if Harden falls to the 9th pick in the dynasty draft, because you're going to get 3 years of, high level production from him. So that's kind of where I am. When it gets to 4 or 5, it gets tricky when it comes to the Trae Youngs, the LaMelos, and of course, Ja Morant. And Ja Morant is moving up the rankings. He was in the late teens at the beginning of the season. This year, he's catapulted all the way up to the top 10.
Nice. Yeah. Well, there you have it, man. It's like risk reward, right? Like you could put all your eggs in one basket and have that player be a stud for you for 7, 8, 9, 10, even 12, 13 years. You never know if you get a young enough guy, but you're missing out on what if he doesn't hit, right? And that's how I kind of like to collect too. It's like the rookies, I'm very, very limited with my rookies. It takes me a little while to pull the trigger on a rookie when I know that's high risk, high reward. I mean, guys like, a lot of the younger guys now that are coming up, I'm getting a little bit more comfortable as like a long-term collector, but the sure thing is always LeBron, the Steph, the Giannis, whoever.
And I think the fact that debuts can be Top Shot debuts could be, I guess, compared to a rookie card, kind of makes it cool too. So like we have players who weren't rookies, during the time of Top Shot.
Yep.
And another question that comes to mind often, Eric, maybe you can answer it. Do you think that Top Shot is going to issue like old school cards that will serve as rookie cards. You think that would happen? Like rookie moments, like from LeBron's rookie year, and then they badge it as a rookie card? You think that's something they'll do?
They have that already. Like they have the run it back set, right?
Mhm.
Like Chris Paul's got a rookie on Top Shot already.
Is it have a rookie badge?
Yeah. Yeah. From the
Whoa.
05-06 set. And that's, I think, one of my favorites. I mean, Giannis has a Series 1 rookie, right?
Mhm.
He looks like, I mean, he's 19 years old. It's a sweet, up and under layup. Like it's dope. And there's only like it's super rare, only 275 of them. It's got the rookie badge and everything. Chris Paul's got one. Those are probably like the two main rookie superstars. I mean, like Paul George has one too. It's a 360 windmill dunk. And no, sorry, my bad. That one's not a rookie. But there's a couple of them out there, and I do think that they're going to introduce more of them. They're going to introduce more of them. But the difference between like the debut, the rookie, the Series 1, I don't think it's going to be commonplace. I don't think they're going to go out and drop, 10, 15 Chris Paul rookies in the next, 30 years or something like that. We've been around for a couple years now, and he's got one rare, one common rookie because the archive set has a rookie too. So, they're there, but that's why you always kind of lean back on what's the first rookie that he had there. What's the,
So do you think that the debuts will have more value than the like old school run it back type of rookie cards? Or do you know off the top of your head what the value is compared to Chris Paul's debut moment, for example?
That depends. So and it depends for a lot of reasons. Back in the day, like in Series 1, they would have multiple rarity classes.
When you say Series 1, I get so jealous, man. I wish I was around.
I wasn't either.
You weren't?
I got in at the worst possible time, bro. I got in bubble, like mass peak bubble time. Like look at my account one day and it's down 75% the next day. So don't
feel bad.
You're cool. You're cool.
Because I got Series 1 on all days. I'm feeling really good about myself.
I went to School of Hard Knocks in Top Shot.
Okay.
School of Hard Knocks. But anyways, it's different because back in Series 1, like you get to know the market, you get to know the collectibles and stuff like that. Series 1, they had a common, rare, legendary, even maybe two versions of the same legendary for the superstar players, right? So going back to Chris Paul, like he's got a common, a rare, legendary, hollow, legendary, cosmic, Top Shot debut. So they kind of add up. It's the same clip, but it's a different, clout. And I think it just literally, like we're so early, like a lot of people like were able to stack Top Shot debuts. I was not one of those people. Like there's people that I don't touch them. Not that I don't touch them, but there's some people that have them at such a lower cost point than I can even come close to getting it at, that like it's tough for me to go there not knowing what the future is going to hold, because it's all about the supply and the demand. What are the collectors going to want, right? It's the first of its kind, right? The first Series 1, like that has something to say for it. But there's also a Series 2, and it's a rookie, and it's his first rookie ever minted. So I think time will tell on that. Where things shake out. There's some people that'll stand by Top Shot debuts all day long. I'm more so to the mindset of that it's up for interpretation. Like we're still too early. Nobody really knows.
Yep.
So we'll see. I like Top Shot debuts, but again, at the same time, there's people that got them way, way cheaper than I did. It's a little bit scary for me to touch it at that price point when I know, they could sell it. If it drops, 90%, they'd still be at a 10x return, and I'm like losing my shorts. So,
no, that's really good information. Super valuable.
So yeah, man, but it'll be cool to see. I mean, like we're already on the verge of Series 4. My favorite moments on Top Shot are the playoff moments. That's where history is made.
Yes.
Like you got so much history going down on the playoffs. Everyone's eyes are on it.
No,
even
that's
if
a good
you're
point.
not a basketball like season fan, you're not watching it all the season. Like any sports fan is going to be watching the NBA playoffs because that's where it's at. It's so much fun. So
man, you're gonna make me go shopping tonight. I can see. I just imagine myself on live token until 3 a.m. because when it's 3 a.m. is when I get my deals. So I might be on live token tonight, man. Oh man, you got me hyped.
Oh, you wouldn't know how many times I would wake up in the morning and realize that somebody on the East Coast got me. It was probably you.
Yo, like that is my honestly, when I buy, like it's two ways I like to buy. Either I'm buying because something, for example, like content wise, right? So one thing with Game Pick right now, going into the off season, is that I want to create. Well, I am creating a junction between NFTs, sports NFTs, fantasy basketball, and physical old school sports cards.
Nice.
So like analyzing the data behind Top Shot moments in terms of their value, the same thing for sports cards, and seeing if it relates somehow to the production or the value of a dynasty basketball player, which
That's
has been
cool.
super. It's like the nerdiest stuff I've ever done, but it's also the most fulfilling,
I love it.
So that's like when I'm buying moments, it's like either just for that, like I'm about to do, like I just did an episode about Trae Young. So I went to go buy Trae Young moments because of that. You know what I'm saying?
Here we go.
Oh,
There it
yeah.
is.
This
Hey,
last episode. So if
like a
you
pro
check any episodes out,
streamer.
check out the last episode of the Game Pick Fantasy Basketball Podcast. That is the lane I'm going for, because speaking on a transparent level, I just started a new job that's going to be pretty demanding. So I'm going to probably make one episode per month, as opposed to what I was doing at last season with weekly episodes.
Got it.
So it's going to be just really try to produce a high quality episode monthly and give people something that I really haven't seen on the internet.
Awesome. Something new, something fresh. I love it. I'll throw the link down in the description of the video.
Thank you, brother. Thank
and
you.
If everyone out there would check out the podcast and subscribe and say it, you fantasy football or you fantasy nerds.
Play the waivers, set your lineups, and follow Game Pick, you freaking fantasy nerds.
There we go. I can't do it justice. It's got to come from your mouth.
It's got some New York swag with it.
It's got to come from your mouth. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll throw that down in there and give them a good rating too, because I know ratings are important on that podcast.
Yes, please subscribe, but also if you could leave a review, that would mean a lot to me.
Amazing, man. I can't wait to check it out more. Now that I'm getting into the content as much as I possibly can. I'm gonna be subscribing to that podcast also and just listening through your stuff too, because I can't wait to hear it and learn all about it, man. But as we wrap things up here, man, I will give you the floor to kind of just take it anywhere you want. I mean, anything else that you want to get out before we come to a conclusion?
Yeah. First of all, I just want to thank you, Eric, for having me on your platform here. I'm a huge supporter of what you're doing, and I believe that you're already producing great content and great messaging and great education for the community, but also like you're destined for greatness. You know what I'm saying? Like beyond what you're doing now, and I'm excited to watch and be a part of it. And for me, I just want everyone out there to just go over to the YouTube channel. Please subscribe and also check out the podcast. I'm super accessible. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. My contact is really easy. I'm at Game Pick Podcast on just about every platform. And I hope you guys have a blessed weekend.
Amazing, my man. Thank you so much for coming on. It was truly my pleasure, my honor to have you on here. I know we've been wanting to do this for a while, and I don't do many guests on the show. I really want to start doing them more, man, because stuff like this just gets me more fired up about, producing, about the connection, right? Making friends. Like community is what it's all about, man. You should have seen me doing Top Shot by myself back last time this year. Oh, bro, talk about the worst. It was nah.
You guys out there?
No. People be like, "What's wrong with you?"
Well, if you ever need a running mate, hey,
I didn't get the drop, and my account's down 80% today. Leave me alone.
Well, if you ever need to do a live and you need a buddy, we'll coordinate. I'd love to come back anytime you'd have me.
We'll have to run it back sometime, man. We'll have to run it back for sure. We'll leave it at that then, man. It's been great having you here. You're a friend of the show. And again, don't forget to follow Robin at Game Pick Podcast. Every single one of his socials is down in the description of the video right here. So it is content worth listening to. I love it. It's great. He's the man. Thanks again.